Hello dear students, I am Sumana Ghosh and once again I am back with the chapter Democracy and Diversity. Today the topic which I am going to take up is Politics of Social Division. So we'll take up the topic Politics of Social Division. We know that when a country is democratic, there are bound to be several political parties. So now we know that democracy leads to competition. So democracy involves competition among various political parties, and when the competition becomes too deep, it may lead to social division, a division in the society, and too much of social division again may lead to conflict and violence. So there may be a range of outcomes of this social division, a range of outcomes of the social divisions that are created. Let us once again take the example of Northern Ireland. As I had already told you before that Northern Ireland comprises of Christian population, and these Christians belong to two communities. So Northern Ireland comprises of Christian population, and these Christians belong to two different communities. One is the Catholics, the Protestants, and the Catholics. The Protestants comprise 53% of the total population, whereas the Catholics comprise of 44% of the total population. And as we have already seen on the earlier lecture, that the Catholics in Northern Ireland are supposed to be poor, landless, discriminated against, facing social injustice, whereas the Protestants are much in a better condition, living condition. They are heard in the government also. So we find that a lot of ethnic and political conflict took place in Northern Ireland because majority was Protestant population, 53%, whereas the Catholics comprised 44%. Now, when we talk about the Protestants, definitely they were supported by some political party. When there is a democracy, there are a lot of political parties who are the key players. And in case of Northern Ireland, we see that the Protestants were backed by the Unionist Party, and the policy of this Unionist Party was that let Northern Ireland remain part of the United Kingdom, whereas the Catholics, they were backed by the Nationalist Party. And the agenda of this Nationalist Party was that it was felt that Northern Ireland should be united with or unified with the Republic of Ireland, which was exclusively a Catholic country. So on one hand, we see that Unionist Party favors that Ireland should remain part of United Kingdom, whereas the Nationalist Party, which is backing the Catholics, feels that our Northern Ireland should be unified with the Republic of Ireland, which was an exclusive Catholic country. So here we see that the two parties having opposing views and one supporting the Protestants, another supporting the Catholics. Definitely a fight took place between the supporters of both the parties, that is the Nationalist Party and the Unionist Party. This led to the death of hundreds of civilians, hundreds of security forces and hundreds of militants. So there was a lot of loss of, life and property. A lot of people were killed, and this seemed to be a long process before 1998. And after that, in 1998, the government of United Kingdom, it reached an agreement with the Nationalist Party, and it reached an agreement, a peace treaty was signed, and then only all kinds of armed struggle was suspended. So finally this armed struggle came to an end in 1998 only after the government of United Kingdom signed a peace treaty with the Nationalist Party. So what we see here is that in case of Northern Ireland, due to the differences in opinions, due to the difference of views of the Catholics and Protestants, it is found that they never came to any kind of consensus. One party wanted that Ireland should remain part of the United Kingdom. Another party felt that they were unheard of in the government, so they should be unified with the Republic of Ireland, which was exclusively a Catholic country. And finally, only after the peace treaty was signed by the government of United Kingdom and the Nationalist Party members, that the violence that was going on, it came to an end. When we talk of another European country, Yugoslavia, it was not so lucky. In case of Yugoslavia also, we find that for years and years there were ethnic and political conflicts going on within Yugoslavia. There were ethnic differences, there were political differences among people. Finally, this was so taking such a bad turn that based on their ethnicity, based on their religion, people fought among themselves, and this led to the disintegration of Yugoslavia. Disintegration of Yugoslavia into 6 independent countries. So the 6 independent countries are Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, Croatia, Slovenia, and I'll just see to it, Macedonia. So finally we see that unlike Northern Ireland, where leading to a peace treaty, this all kinds of conflict, it came to an end, all kinds of armed struggle came to an end. But in case of Yugoslavia, the ongoing political, ethnic and religious conflict just could not be subdued or stopped, and finally this led to the disintegration of Yugoslavia into 6 independent countries, that is Bosnia and Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, Croatia, Macedonia and Slovenia. Now, according to some people, social division and politics, they should not be mixed together. But we know that when there is a society, there is bound to be social differences, and when there are too many social differences, it may lead to social division also. But every expression of social division in politics does not lead to social disasters. Every time social division in politics cannot lead to social disasters if it is handled in a proper manner. In most of the countries, these kind of social divisions which are present in a country, they affect the voting pattern also. Like people from a particular community, they tend to have support for a particular party, more support for a particular party than the other, since they are belonging to that community and maybe that party supports their community, so they will be favoring that party more than any other party. Now let's see what are the three determinants or three factors which are crucial in deciding the outcome of politics of social division. So let's talk about the three factors or three determinants which are crucial in deciding the outcome of politics of social division. So the first factor is how people see their identities. I can see my identity as a singular identity, or I may see myself having multiple identities. Now those people who see their own identity as singular and exclusive, for them it is difficult to accommodate, and it becomes difficult in the society also to accommodate, and this creates rift in the society, this creates division in the society, because if we are too rigid, then we may have only singular identity, we may prefer to have only exclusive singular identity. On the other hand, if we prefer to have multiple identity that also complementary with our nationality, it makes the things easier. So in case of, let's take the example of the people of Belgium. We know that the population of Belgium has Dutch speaking people, French speaking people and German speaking people. So though they think themselves to be Dutch speaking, French speaking, German speaking, they also think themselves to be Belgians. That means, don't we see here that they are thinking themselves to be having multiple identities. Similarly, in case of India also, when we see, we all belong to different states, so we have an identity exclusively of our own state, but at the same time we think ourselves to be citizens of India. So don't we have multiple identities? When we have multiple identities, it becomes very difficult to accommodate any kind of social differences that we may have, because we tend to overlook certain differences, and this creates harmony in the society also. Now the second thing, the second crucial factor that decides the outcome of politics of social division is how the political leaders raise demands of any community. Now the political leaders, if they are sensible enough, then they can raise the demand of their particular community by not harming the sentiment of another community, or there may be vice versa. So when we see the example of Belgium and Sri Lanka, we see that in case of Belgium, the people belonging to various, that is French speaking, Dutch speaking or German speaking communities, they felt that the leaders who were supporting these communities, they had long discussions, debates, and finally they felt that their needs and aspirations of their community needed to be addressed by taking care of the national peace, harmony and security. This was not in case of Sri Lanka. In case of Sri Lanka, we see that when the government was formed, elected government, representative government was formed, which was dominated by the Sinhala ministers or the Sinhala leaders. We see that the leaders belonging to Sinhala community, they are addressing the grievances and problems of the Sinhala community only, and the Tamil community people are left out. They feel deprived. So when such a thing happens, when the leaders, the political leaders fail to address the problems, the needs, aspirations of their community in a sensible way, then this is going to create a lot of social differences leading to social division. But on the contrary, when the political leaders, when we see the political leaders raising demands of their respective community, in case of Belgium, this led to final such a kind of settlement, the power of accommodation, which made peaceful coexistence of all the communities in Belgium. The third most crucial factor to decide the outcome of politics of social division is how the government reacts to the demands of different groups. There may be different political groups, there may be social groups, there may be other groups, various kinds of social groups. They may be having their own demands, but how the government addresses that is very, very important. Again, when we take the example of Belgium, we see that the government of Belgium addressed the problem of the Dutch-speaking, French-speaking and German-speaking people by taking care of all their needs and aspirations, and they adopted the policy of power of accommodation. So we see that in case of Belgium, the power of accommodation was adopted. When we see Belgium, the government adopted the policy of accommodation. But when we see the government of Sri Lanka, it was a Sinhala dominated government, so the government adopted the policy of majoritarianism. So accommodation leads to peaceful coexistence, less social differences and almost no social divisions. But the policy of majoritarianism that was adopted by the Sri Lankan government created more and more rift among the people, that is the Sinhala speaking and the Tamil speaking people, leading to widening rift, and this led to a great social division which is yet to be covered up. So in a democracy, when there is a democratic country, it is political expression of social division can be normal as well as healthy also. Means when there is a democratic country, there may be social divisions, there may be social divisions also, but how politically social division is expressed, it matters a lot. But it can be the expression, political expression of these social divisions can be healthy, can be normal. So it depends upon the political parties who are expressing the demands of their respective community. Because in a democratic country, we know that various kinds of people live, various social groups live, and they may not be equally treated. So the socially deprived groups, economically and socially backward classes, they can address their grievances because democracy gives them an opportunity to address their grievances. They can be heard. But this is overall, if we see in a democracy, when the social groups are heard, their grievances are heard of. So over the time, it is seen that the government works on it, and this further leads to strengthening of the democracy. But sometimes it so happens that in a society there may be great social differences which may lead to injustice, which may lead to inequality, which may lead to social, political injustice, inequality. This kind of thing is unacceptable, and this problem needs to be addressed. So we see that democracy, the democratic form of government, is the best form of government which has been experimentally proven also, because this helps to fight for recognition, and it also accommodates any kind of diversity which we cannot expect in case of any authoritarian government, in case of monarchy, in case of autocracy. This cannot be expected. It can be only expected in case of democracy, that democracy helps to get recognition. It helps to accommodate any kind of social diversities and social differences. And I hope now democracy and diversity, this chapter is clear to you. So hope to see you all soon. Thank you so much.